Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Recreation Rooster Podcast. This is Dan Chiava with Maisha Jones, and it's one of our live. We have Dr. Susan Ross. Happy Recreational Therapy Month once again. It's keep on out there, keep on fighting, keep on advocating. We definitely need to do that, like I was talking about in the last time. So, for those of you who, uh, what do you call it? Have it if this is your first time tuning in. Uh, we're with Dr. Suzy Ross. She is a professor for about 25 years at San Jose State University in California, and she also is an author. And she grew up in Wisconsin, and yeah, that's Madison, Wisconsin. I believe so. Yeah, that's a little bit about her, and you know, um, and we will begin another nice conversation with her. I encourage you all, if you haven't, to check out the first two episodes with Dr. Susan Ross. They're incredible. They really are. So, it's yeah, that's very those were some of the best episodes we've done is with Dr. Susan Ross. So, now
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. In the past, we talked about the mathematics of learning, like what concepts need to be taken away from college curriculum, what ought to be added, and we talked a little bit about the evolution of practice, what uh, like how has uh, things evolved, what has evolved and changed throughout the course of the years. Um, and now we're going to come to a segment called Money Matters. Um, so, so this is and of course, this is important. It's something that isn't really talked about enough in this field. I mean, of course, it's expensive to make ends meet nowadays. So, and that's one of people's concerns is how do I make a living at recreational therapy, therapeutic recreation? How do we, how do we do that? So, my question I'm going to pose to Dr. Susan Ross is, what was your highest earning year, and what RTTR focus have you found to be the most lucrative?
hmm Well, hi, Maisha, and hi, Dan. Thanks for having me again. This is
Welcome.
it's kind of playful and fun, isn't it?
I love
It
it.
To be together and kind of play together and bounce around ideas and share and all that kind of thing. So thanks for having me and playing with me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love it. Mhm.
totally cool. So yeah, jumping into money. I mean, I think you're right on, Dan. We don't talk about this enough. Um, Maybe it's because so many of us are in it to win it. We're in it because we really believe in the power of play, recreation, and leisure, and its necessity in all of our lives, and being of service to people. That's seems to be so primary, and at the same time, the money piece is. I think I think it's now, it's time for us to really talk about that, um, because so many recreation therapists are looking into entrepreneurship, and there are increasing numbers and prominence of recreation therapy in entrepreneurship. And so to me, it's an exciting time to like claim it and be able to say we actually might have more control over our salaries than ever before. And because we have more evidence base, because we have more education, because there are more of us, and that there's more knowledge by the general public about what we do and who are we. Um, and of course, there's you know, yeah. So having said that, um, just directly answering your question about salaries, um, you know, in for me personally, this is my highest grossing year, just because I'm on this slow trajectory being faculty, and thankfully, we have tenure and promotion, which I achieved. And so that bumped up my salary quite a bit a couple years ago. And then I'm on this slower trajectory. I'd love to go for full professor, which would bump up my salary again quite a bit. And the task to become full professor is a little daunting, just the same way as becoming a tenured professor was extremely daunting. I mean, I was scared out of my mind about like,
Public
can I really
affairs is
do this?
kind
You
of
know what I mean?
yeah.
But I was able to, and it was really hard. It was the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It was way more difficult than getting a PhD.
Yeah.
I think for me. But for salaries for rec therapists, when I'm helping students to find jobs and when I'm getting job postings in my own email, the the two areas, well, and I would say three, that are the highest that I've seen, hands down, in California. Obviously our salaries are in general way higher than the rest of the nation,
Yeah. It's
because
also expensive to
of
live there.
our cost of living is so darn high. But prison settings, the corrections, forensics, that all is just hands down, that tends to be one of the highest producing jobs salary wise. Also, the working for the city and county, city park and rec and county hospitals, they are just fantastic salaries, six figures for
Yeah.
sure. Six figures in the prisons, six figures in the county and in the city. Their starting salary might be, lower, but if you become a supervisor at the city and the county, for sure you're over six figures in California.
Yeah.
So that's really great for us, that we can start. We're getting well compensated in those areas. The ones that are lower tend to be the long-term care, even in mental health, like private hospitals, psychiatric hospitals, not so the best salaries. Working in nonprofits might be, pretty good. So I mean, I think, it's all on what you want, right? But you're wondering about salaries. The piece that, both of you know quite a bit about is just being able to be an entrepreneur and working with Medicaid waiver. And that's offering this humongous new frontier of possibilities for us, not only in flexibility, but in diversity of experience, but also your salary. The salaries coming out of, for the connected to Medicare waiver in particular, is it's really, really good. If I were graduating right now, I would look seriously at that type of thing, but I would want to wait and get experience first as a recreation therapist with an agency, develop skills, develop knowledge, and then get out and branch off on your own. Because without that solid knowledge, I think we don't want to, when we're out there being an entrepreneur, we are the sole face of recreation therapy. And so in that way, we want to be doing our most excellent work. And
Right.
so yeah, so those are my quick thoughts about money.
Well, you know me, I like talking about money. If anybody knows my issue, they know I like talking about money. Okay, because I do understand that fiscal viability is the bloodline of the profession. Also, to just beyond compensation, resources just for departments. We can't produce and facilitate programs out of thin air, out of, oh, I want to serve. No. Service does not have to come with sacrificial lamb mentality. We're not in that business. And I feel as though a lot of people who want to lowball us when it comes to our salaries think that we're supposed to be the sacrificial lambs of the agencies, and we're not. I did want to follow up on your answer. You know me, I like to push a little bit. So you said 2025 was your, or 2024 was your highest earning year. So just to give some context to this, as a professor working for a state system, right? So
Mhm.
we all in the profession understand that we got a handful of wonderful professors that are working in state systems and representing RT, and they're small but mighty group of professors. So for you, Dr. Ross, you said 2024 was your highest earning year. So when I think of earnings, oftentimes I think about two parts of compensation. I think about the fringe benefits of compensation, and I think about the dollars of compensation. We may have future RTs out there who want to go ahead and go all the way through and become a professor just like you. And I believe that they need to have a clear understanding of what that may look like when it comes to compensation. And like you said before, becoming tenure, and then also all the other arduous tasks that you took to get where you are right now in 2024. They need to know, is it worth it? Is it worth it?
Mhm.
Will I be able to sustain myself and take care of my family? Will I be able to have reserves when it comes to my money so that anything that I want to push philanthropically or any other avenue that I want to take as a professor who's evolving into all the other different tracks that come along with being a recreation therapist who is progressive, will I have the resource to do that? Will I have the time and flexibility to do that? So for 2024, are we saying that the highest earning year was, we know it was well above six, we know it was above six figures, we already know that. So oftentimes I like to use ranges. So I oftentimes will say, okay, 100K to 250K, 250K to 450K, 450K to 650K, right? I use ranges and brackets because no, we're not asking anyone to say, hey, you know, I made this much money, ha ha ha, right, type of thing. But to get a ballpark figure of, for a professor that's been working in the field over 25 years, who also has other projects and other lines of business and stuff, can we have our recreation therapy professor that's working in the field for 25 plus years, can they command a can they garner a salary in a year of over 300K? Is it possible? Right? And I think that that part of the conversation when it comes to money, that's the part that the viewership wants to know, because if you are elevating the profession and edifying the profession, we want to know that, will I be able to sustain myself whether or not I'm in California or if I'm in Alabama? Will I be able to sustain myself? And yes, we do know that on the West Coast that we're a bit of an anomaly because the cost of living is so high over here. But we have other hot spots when it comes to salaries due to waiver programs like Indiana and Texas and whatnot that also garner great salaries. But as a person, as an RT who one day wants to be a professor and also wants to venture out to do research and publishing of books and also do practitioner work as well, will I be able to garner a six-figure salary that would be well above $300,000? Or will it be somewhere between 100,000 and 300,000, or above 300,000? So any kind of ballpark figure that you can enlighten us with really helps to give context and scale to what an RT can do, under certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised to find that faculty don't get paid all that much money. I mean, in all, first of all, at least in California, and I think this is the case around the country, if you work for a state university, all of our salaries are public. So if you wanted to know any of the faculty's salaries, it's all on like the governmental websites.
That's true.
Yeah, you
Right.
can totally look it up. And so, so there's that piece. But I could, quite frankly, I could make more money if I was in industry, if I was in the profession. Sorry, wipe the word industry out. If I'm, yeah, yeah. It depends on when I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a certain group of people, it's industry, and I'm talking to us, it's profession. So, so anyone in our profession, there are many positions in the Bay Area, for example, that I could go, and if I were able to earn that position, I would make more than what I'm making right now. So yeah, I mean, you'd think that after working 25 years, I would be making a whole lot of money, but it's a snail's pace. The other thing is that salaries were really not equitable. They're still not equitable when you're working for large institutions like universities. And when I first started working, they were grossly inequitable,
Yeah.
and, like grossly. And so, my salary was very small when I started. And then, uh, and then getting the tenure position, it was just the time when they were hiring people at a salary that they should have been doing a long time ago,
Got you.
bumped up. But even in California, faculty at the tenured level might range between 80,000 to 110,
Okay.
even at the tenured level.
Okay.
If you're full professor in California, I would think that you're over 110,000, and then I don't know where the top is of that, like at full professor, like 150, maybe 140. I mean, because you got to think too, that if you're getting to full professor, that means you've been around a little while. And a lot of the faculty who have been around even longer than me, who are just retiring right now, they were definitely hired during times where salaries were tiny. And so by the time they are retiring now, I don't know what their salaries are. I don't go and look up their salaries, but yeah, so it's not a huge number. And that's why a lot of faculty will want to get us some sort of side gig going on so that they can have more flexibility in their lifestyle and that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, being a professor is not, if you want to make more money in rec therapy, I would say be a clinician, and follow some of the avenues. Being a professor is something you just like rec therapy. I have to feel called to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it really becomes a 24/7, 7 day a week job, similar to entrepreneurship, and it really is your life, and you give your life not only to the institution and to the students, but to your profession. And
Mm-hmm.
you really kind of do that. And so, it has to be a calling and that kind of thing. So, and I definitely got the calling. I mean,
Yes, you do. Yes.
when I started teaching, I was at a master's level, and I was just like, man, I love this, because I really felt like I know as a clinician that I help people's lives, and I feel it and I see it. And then I was like, if I can teach people to do that well, then I get to multiply my impact exponentially
Yes.
before I die, and so that became very compelling for me, because I do want to feel that way when I die. One day, I want to feel like, oh, all said and done, I squeezed the most out of my life, and as far as being able to be of service and to do great things while also having a lot of fun myself.
Absolutely.
And to back to the money piece, and then I'll be done. That's something that's been really on the fore of my goals for me personally for a long time, is how can I bring recreation therapy and my work on transformation way outside the university walls. And so that's why, that's not really why I wrote the book, but my desire is to work beyond the university walls and so that, and beyond like hospital walls and those kinds of things, so that our work and also particularly my work with transformation can affect even larger circles of people. And with that my goal is also to make more money, so that I'm not being naive, that it's only my desire for service. But I have to say that I'm excited to make more money so that I can put it back in, so I can make what I do even better, and also be able to have fun and be relatively comfortable.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for expounding and really clarifying your answer to that question. Unlike many, I don't mind talking about money. Just being a clinician and entrepreneur, I would say that my highest grossing year was actually, surprisingly enough, it was not pre-pandemic. It was actually post-pandemic. It was year 2023. And there were several different things that had came into place. And we're going to give context because I am on the West Coast and cost of living is very high over here. So we always have to take that into strong consideration. So, being a therapy manager, garnering, above six figures, 115, 120K. And then, of course, like you mentioned before, doctor, working on the clinician side of things, on the business side, direct to consumer work, where you're outside of the parameters and constraints of a recovery model, outside of the parameters and constraints of a medical model, or even a university system, right? Where everybody's kind of eating off the top and then saying, here you go, been able to get some really large contracts. Reports that used to be $250 for every report, now $1,300 for a report, right? But also acknowledging that these reports are defensible reports. Lawyers are involved, and I may be called to court to defend these reports. But also understanding as clinicians that any report that we ink, we have to be able to defend. But we also have to have the competencies to be able to produce a quality report. We have to have those capabilities as a practitioner. So as I have grown in my clinical acumen, I've been able to garner higher wages. And I believe that 2026 will be a great year for me as well. So 2023, definitely above the 250,000 range. Do I think that 2025 is going to be a great year? I mean, I think 2025 is going to be a great year. And one reason being is because, just like you mentioned, going beyond our traditional settings and getting into rooms with different health systems and different governmental agencies and private sector agencies that really handle higher volumes of people, you're able to garner a higher rates because you have a specialization, and they're looking for us, guys. They are looking for competent RTs to come and transform these spaces. They're looking for new ideas, creativity, non-invasive interventions that don't require the risk of pharmacology, that don't require the risk of physical restraints. All of these things that are bleeding and spilling out on the back end of these health systems when they harm people. They're looking for clinicians like us. And because they are looking for clinicians like us, I can go into a room and say, yeah, I'll drive an hour outside of the city and go and see that that student, yeah, it's going to cost you $1,300 for me to do it, you know, and actually going and doing it. So do I think 2025 I'm gonna be above, 250 to 275? I do. I do. And I encourage each and every other RT that's willing to put in the work and who's bold enough and has enough gumption and balls to get out there and do direct to consumer, direct to business contracts. Get out there. But just like what Dr. Ross said, as a new student, the consultant world is for experts and people who have a certain level of competence. So if you are looking to go that route and you don't want to jump into the medical model or recovery model systems, definitely create an apprenticeship type of track for yourself so that you can garnish, you can glean and you can learn and understand there's going to be moments where you're going to be very uncomfortable, where somebody's going to tell you, you know what, that's a garbage report. I wouldn't buy that report. And it's just like, so it's just like, and hone those skills so you can perfect your craft so that no matter where you are, California or Alabama, New York or Texas, or Bangladesh or South Africa, right? Or Australia or Canada, that you can go into these new markets and you can be competitive. So I just wanted to, kind of give a little bit of insights on my earning potential, but I also want to give a caveat. In no way, shape, or form am I implying that value is based on a dollar amount. Because I have read reports and seen some of the most amazing RTs work for under 45 a year, 45K a year. And they were way better than another RT that I know or that I've observed that made over 100K a year. So exercising your sense of agency and of excellence and being a lifelong student and wanting to be the best, most evolved practitioner that you can be in the moment every single day is critical. And those type of skills is what's going to allow you to garner the higher wages. And for those RTs who are out there that are charging high rate wages and producing poor or quality work, you're a disservice to the profession. That's not meant for you type of thing. So it's just like, I just really want to encourage each and every RT and prospective RT that be the best practitioner that you can be every day and know your value. And when you find yourself in a situation where you're working for an employer or agency that you feel is not compensating you properly, continue to make connections and enter new spaces, new places, and new opportunities will miraculously appear and drop right in your lap. People will talk about you in rooms that you're not in, and you will be invited into spaces where you can affect positive changes and positive outcomes. So that's my take on money matters.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
very beautiful. I mean, really, and it's good to know it's important. I mean, of course, yeah, I mean, like you were saying, I mean, actually, possibly also too, what is important about also being what do you call it? Like in a state system or something, you also might get really good. You might not make the most money sometimes, I hear, but you have might possibly pension plans and other things that might be advantageous and everything. I know in like a public type of a system and everything, which is a trade-off as well to some degree. And I mean, of course, sometimes in lifestyle, there's also that kind of thing. Like, I mean, I was, of course, at one full-time job, I was making close to 80,000, and but I also had to commute an hour. So, whereas now I'm making a little bit less than that, where I don't have to commute an hour. So it's a little give and take, and of course sometimes, uh, consulting could give a little bit more than that, and So, I mean, at tops, I think, like I've made, probably about 88,000, something like that, maybe. Um, but, yeah, I mean, there's a potential to make more sometimes, but, I mean, sometimes, you have to navigate the system and figure out the work and get contracts and other things like that, like Maisha did, as well. So, and, that entrepreneurial spirit, I think, is actually part of, the future of the field, and that's something that is really going to increase as, time goes on. We really have a field that is now open to a lot of possibilities, a lot more that can be done remotely, a lot more that could be done, yeah, interactively through remote work. A lot of other therapists are doing it or whatever. I know, telehealth for psychotherapy has become a big thing,
Yes.
and, a lot of that can be done with, us as well. I mean, in terms of not only teletherapy, but, uh, yeah, I mean, teletherapy essentially and stuff. I mean, a lot of leisure education could be, uh, done via teletherapy and that type of a thing, and teaching, different skills, even playing different types of games with people via online modalities now. I am sure that's possible. So, it really is, in the world of, I guess, an inexact science, in terms of, choosing jobs, finding jobs, and, evolving the career, seeing what, you're looking for. Of course, I mean, it's also might be helpful to do, projects and think outside of the box. Do things like write a book or something like that. Um,
Absolutely.
use your resources. Of course, technology like artificial intelligence is, become a really big, aspect, and, can really help us become more efficient at work in a way. Um, but I mean, of course, that also takes a human thought too. Do not forget to, check, the stuff that artificial intelligence, um, does. You know, so, that's a little bit of my thoughts on that.
Well,
So.
I wanted to just to stick a pin in it, is that to give encouragement to each and every RT that's out there. Understand that your market is bigger than what you visually see around you. You're a global practitioner, and moving forward. Also, I wanted to mention that the beautiful thing about the new RTs that are coming out is that they're already very extroverted in their communication. So no longer are the 6 degrees of separation where you were insulated through your family stuff. You literally have 9, 10, 11-year olds, 15, 17, 18, 20, 21-year olds that are connecting with people all the way on the other side of the world through social media. So the fact that they are so so knowledgeable about how to connect and how to market themselves to others, that is a very strong skill that can be used for you in elevating your reach and your impact to the many, many communities that you connect with and that you would like to work with. So I often say, scale up, scale out, and capitalize on that, and that before you walk into any room, after you've been called back, after you've done a job application, have a ballpark figure in your head of the minimum that you would want to be compensated to work for that agency, and try your best that if the job is offered to you, to negotiate above that minimum. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to be paid less than what you want and find yourself in a bind, where you cannot sustain yourself. Because your health and wellness is essential for you to be of service to others. So just remember that money is not a taboo subject. It's really important that you talk about it, and that before you sign any employment contract, that you are in agreement with what is written there. And then also take into strong consideration, just like what Dan said, that fringe benefits of being with an agency. If an agency does groundbreaking programs and therapies, and you're able to glean from like a most amazing person that's part of their service, yeah, I might want to work there and make less, because I know that through connections and through me being in proximity to greatness, that I too will be great, right? So always take into consideration the pros and cons. And thank you both for being so candid. I know it's not easy, especially on a public platform like this, to talk about money as well. But thank you for being so candid, and I'm sure that our viewership appreciates it. All
Well,
right.
of course, as being as having been a public service employee too, my salary has been public too, and stuff. So yeah, like Susie said, yeah. So absolutely, or whatever. So, um, no, I agree. It's important, and of course, we live in expensive areas. I'm in the greater New York City area. You're in California.
Oh,
That's expensive. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. It's hard, but yeah, definitely hard. Everything is so expensive. But um yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Definitely we need to be pushing that more. Absolutely. I agree with you and everything. So um well, we've what do you call it? It's now, I mean, we're gonna have to do a part four, I think. 'Cause we've been doing
have time. Go ahead.
uh,
Mhm.
yeah, because we're about out of time or whatever. I mean, and Susie is great. I really appreciate you doing all this with us, Susie. It's so much fun and everything.
Mhm.
I appreciate
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we might have a little bit more time, right? I think so, yeah.
it. Yeah. You want me to start another question on here? I could. I could throw out.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I think we should be able to finish it
Right.
today.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I was just thinking we do another. Uh, we'd start another Zoom if that's because we've been on here for almost 50 minutes. So, according to this, so I'm thinking that yeah, we'll start another Zoom and do a part four. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Thanks so
Sounds good.
much.
Yeah. Thank you. See you in part four.